Okay, are you all ready to go then?
You can hear me, I guess. Yeah, right. Hi. Okay, yeah. So I think we can start now. Okay. Before we begin, I wanted to mention a few things. First of all, what's a tool-assisted speedrun? It's basically just me going frame by frame over the whole run, just putting what inputs I want to do in each frame, and also using save states and hitboxes to make my life easier. Also, I wanted to mention that you can join the TAS Discord in case you want. Well, in case you are interested in TASing. Just if you join it, we'll make sure you to help you because it's quite tricky to set up, but the Discord has amazing people. I recommend joining. Also, I wanted to give a special shout outs to Jarlik and to Sisi for helping me a lot to complete this task. Uh, Knowing like they were able to give me a lot of advice in terms of tasking. And one last thing before we begin, this is a segmented run, which means that the task isn't one whole thing. I just spliced between each query and then I just put everything together. I also went and redid the first 3 segments, I think. So I will have 10 more geo than I should after Glow, but it doesn't affect anything else and you won't even notice it. I think we can begin now. So we are beginning at King's Pass, of course, and right off the bat you will notice that I do a lot more Fantas than NTAs. That's because they actually save a bit more time. I just try to do them as frequently as I can instead, like just avoid NTAs and try to prioritize Fantas. In case you don't know, Fantas are basically the same as NTAs, but instead of turning around before the slash, you turn exactly as it's about to end, and you get the hitbox behind you, so you can still hit the wall. And now here we are going to do Rockfall Skip, which saves almost 4 seconds if you aren't returning for Fury, and around half a second for us because we have to return. I also paused here because I thought it was important to explain what FCR is. FCR stands for FPS cooldown reduction, which just basically, well, I don't think the name really does justice to the concept, but I'll try to explain it relatively quickly. For example, with the nail in this case, the game gives you the attack flag back after 0.41. More specifically, if more than 0.41 seconds have passed. So if you have a steady 100 FPS, that means that in frame 41 you won't have the flag, so you won't be able to attack, and in frame 42 the game will finally let you attack. So by introducing a frame that lasts slightly longer during the cooldown, you are able to essentially save almost a whole 0.01, and we use that basically throughout the entire run. And how does this apply to RTA, you might be asking yourself. So well, RTA doesn't have such a steady frame duration, so if you were at roughly 100 FPS, you would probably get your nail cooldown to be in between 0.41 and 0.42, essentially at random. So we are just making sure with this piece of tech to get the best cooldown possible every time, instead of just getting the worst possible cooldown every time. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, so because it shouldn't really be anything controversial. I think it's fair to say we should be allowed to use it. So yeah, we can continue. So now, as I said, we are going to return for Fury, which involves going a bit around, because of course we didn't break this floor. We do a hardfall cancel there, grab a bit of G on the way, and we use that statue there to manip the for a Fury pickup to make it bounce as little as possible, so we can grab it earlier. It's a really handy thing to do if you didn't know about it. Also here, RTA can normally do an early control there by pausing, but for some reason, which I'm not entirely sure yet, TAS instant loads don't allow it to work. So I just looked up and down, which doesn't actually give you control. The game just lets you look up and down without actually having control. And if you are wondering, the early control would save exactly 1.8 seconds if I remember correctly, so you can just subtract that amount of time if you'd like. Here we are going to go directly to green path. We can do this because unlike in CC's TAS, where he has to get VS to kill the Baldur, we are doing this kill, which was discovered by Dan Olap. Shoutouts to him, by the way. It was a fairly recent piece of tech when I started this TAS, but it has obviously been a while since then. And obviously skipping Vengeful Spirit saves quite a bit of time, and despite what you may think, it doesn't actually bleed any significant amount of that time during the rest of the run. It's especially significant during boss fights, especially Watcher Knights and THK, and a bit during the early game, especially for example here in Fireball skips. We have here to do the Squid Pogo instead of being able to just Fireball across, and a similar situation will occur a bit later. We will be able to skip this Moss Charger because we actually have a bit of leeway in the Geo, and that was the best thing to skip. Now, that way of doing the skip instead of using Fireball is normally was thought to only be useful in categories without BS, but if my timings are correct, with very good RNG it should also be faster even if you have BS. Now here we've tried to forward slash the Moss Knight as much as possible, so he dies closer to the gate and we can exit a bit faster. And here we are avoiding the NTAs on the bench flies because with Fury we would obviously kill them in a single hit, so the freeze frames would actually lose more time than an NTA saves, and that's why we skip them. They brought here because we don't need Mosnet Trio, and we go into Hornet. So what does the Hornet fight look like? So it's pretty simple actually. It's just trying to avoid staggers as much as possible because they come with freeze frames, and that just involves getting as much needle throws as possible. The lowest amount of staggers is 2, and there's really no way to get that go down to 1, so yeah, this should basically be a perfect fight. And now we can go to get Claw directly. The main difference in this split will be, of course, that we don't need to collect any soul at all, because obviously we don't have Fireball, and this saves a bit of time in some rooms, and only blitz time in, well, yes, in Ipogo room, but the Ipogo we are going to use is actually still really fast, so I think it may be worth considering skipping soul hits even if you have Vengeful Spirit. We grab this bench because we need to quit out here. Well, we don't need to, but quitting out here will be faster than quitting out to Death Mode afterwards. And we can go to Fungal as normal. This is just regular Fungal movement. We do this dash there, which is really precise, and here you will notice again the lack of the soul hit. That NTA doesn't save a full frame, so it's essentially useless. It just looks cool, and that room is a bit sad because you cannot do anything as TAS to go faster than a human. And here is the E-Pogo I was talking about. You don't really E-Pogo because you aren't pogoing anything, but that's the fastest thing I found. Now here very fast Mantis Pogo and Claw early control as best as we can to be able to quit out earlier. Now, as you can see, we are on a pretty sick base. Less than 6 minutes 30 leaving Claw, which is awesome. And now after Claw you will basically be seeing WCS abuse all throughout the run. The main difference between how CC used and WCS and how I'm going to be using it is that he used Clean throughout all his run, and I'm going to be using Wiggle WCS, which is faster in basically every single scenario. Not the fastest option always, but we will get into that a bit later. After we've set up Fury, we can go and kill Grass Mom. We make sure to manip her to go as much left as possible, so she bonks on the gate there and we save a bit of time. And now we are getting ready to kill the babies as fast as possible. I truly believe that also might be the fastest option, even if you have a Vengeful Spirit. The play would be to do the first hit as this does, and then hit them again with another slash, and just kill Grassman faster using the extra cast you have, and I think that would be faster. With them stand here to start setting up Fury for Watcher Knights. We continue. Now here we go over Blue Lake for a bit, which is legal according to NMG rules, but I'm not entirely sure it's actually faster. I did this segment a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact timings, but it definitely looks cooler, so yeah, it's definitely worth it in my opinion. Of course, now we are going to get Dreamnail, and if you have followed how this task has progressed, you might know that we do something pretty special here. It basically involves skipping the wait for this year. Well, not really skipping, but instead of having to wait in here at the beginning, we can wait a lot further in, and this saves here we wait, and this saves a really considerable amount of time. The reason we have to wait anyway is because if we don't touch the trigger that is placed in that platform after she has already spawned, she won't move to the next triggers, and so we will just have to eventually return to that place. So yeah, the fastest is just to wait there until she spawns. I made sure to test doing the Dreamnail early control, where we have done shared early control. The problem with doing Dreamnail instead of a pause is that the game actually gives you takes out control a bit too fast, so you don't have time to leave the room before you are stopped on your track. So yeah, for now we will have to do the pause method. This room is actually really annoying to TAS more than you may think, because you essentially need a specific RNG for every enemy, or you just lose time, and that's really annoying. Now here we are getting a King Seal instead of G-Husk, and the reason for it is because we obviously don't have Vengeful Spirit, so killing the enemies near G-Husk is a lot slower, and also killing G-Husk is a lot slower. So yeah, we are going to skip G-Husk and instead get Rafter Seal. So it's like a combination between just like a different variation of Rafter's route. We use WCS to climb through here pretty fast. Again, we damage tank to keep setting up Fury, and we go to Watcher Knights. Now I don't exactly remember why I set up WCS to the right in that part, but I assume it must be faster because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And now this fight lines up better than you may think. There's a fairly good damage rotation here that barely works and allows you to keep slashing cooldown at least in the part where you don't have to poke up of him. The reason we poke up of them is so they take more time to attack, and they don't have time to do a fourth attack, which would mean that they cannot slash again, so they would have to roll or bounce, and that would of course lose a lot of time because we cannot hit them at all during a bounce or a roll. We also make sure to stack pairs so we can hit them both at the same time. And yep, that will be the end of the fight, a pretty quick one for not having BS. Now this climb looks very satisfying, but isn't actually as perfect as you may think. We have to delay each wall jump or by like a frame or something like that, so we are able to get into that ledge in a better way. we use WCS here, which isn't actually the fastest way of getting through the room, but it's still faster than just dashing through the room. You will see the proper movement in Monomon and Hero. We do Dreamnail early control here and in the rest of the dreamers as well, because we don't really need the soul for anything, so this is just faster. Here we get WCS from the inside of the chest. The interesting thing is that you can get it from the inside of the chest, but on the outside it won't actually let you clean. So yeah, that's the only way that strat works with getting WCS. Now we kill that husk to get a bit more extra geo, and at this point I discovered that there's an actual faster way of getting WCS in some spots, like here for example. I like to call it STWCS, which stands for single turn WCS. I did it here as well, which basically means that as you are going off the edge, you need to turn around for a single frame and then just keep going, and you will hopefully have WCS. This requires very specific subpixels and TFT, so I don't think it's really LTA variable, but if you have some way to manipulate your position, it's definitely the fastest option for TAS. So yeah, I discovered it after that lame dialogue, and now after this point I try to use it as much as possible where it's faster. Obviously there's still some spots where we will be superior, because this only works when dropping off a ledge. While going up, for example, you can still have to do Google WCS, so it's still a lot more useful. Here I sadly lost a bit more than 0.3 because I stopped wiggling a bit earlier than I should have. I also fixed that mistake in distant village stack. Here we get Lantern, and we are going to get TAS now, which in my opinion is probably the coolest looking split, just because the movement with WCS looks so cool. The only problem I'd say is the cycles, which are a bit annoying at some points, but the rest is really cool. We turn around there to make the gate open up faster. Same principle as wiggling for stack stations. There we did transition storage, but upwards, which is actually transition dependent, so it doesn't work for most transitions, but for some it does. So it's good to check just in case it does for a particular transition, and if not, you can look into other options. Again, super cool movement during crystal peaks, because just being able to wall jump in the air opens up so many options. Now here in the gauntlet I will, well, first this cycle is super precise. Now what I was going to talk about, this thing, even though it looks ridiculous, it's actually illegal as well. Just wanted to mention it. Probably it's not the thing you are thinking about, but it's legal. You have the NMG proof in my channel. This part of the run is where it gets really interesting, because you have to always keep in mind, well, just you have to always compare WCS to CDAS. As you saw there after the well, we didn't CDAS, we used WCS. That's because both options are actually quite close in a lot of places, so I just have to go and time which of the two is fastest for each room. This will be another example. I just WCS in between all the jellies instead of WCSing, instead of C-dashing, sorry, which is slightly faster. In well room it saves a lot more time. In general, C-dash is probably the fastest option if it does go through a transition, and if it doesn't, it's probably slower. Here we are doing the, at this point, traditional Umu insta-kill. So a tip if you are going to test this is to try to be close to the Oma core, because it will be easier to control, and also make sure to keep in mind that the time that Umu spends moving in between attacks is random, so and you have to also manage for that if you want the optimal fight. I didn't know that when I test this segment, so I didn't get the optimal idle RNG, but it's good to know for next time at least. Now this is the optimal movement I was talking about. And now we'll be able to continue to go to Hera. These lasses aren't really important for TAS, because we can do TFT manip, but if we couldn't do it for some reason, they would save a bit of time. There we damage tank using the Oma core, and we hit the jelly a frame before the Oma core hit us, so we can override the freeze frames and save a bit of time. And here I'm going to show you something really interesting. I need to see if I can here. So here I wall jumped and got WCS here, and then I just pressed against the wall to clean and started a C-dash. So the way a C-dash like while clean this game works is that first it obviously checks if you are cleaning, then it uses some recasts over here and over here to check if there's a wall in both of those spots, but the thing is that those recasts actually go a bit farther than where the knight is actually clinging, so we can go actually, I think, a couple of frames forward before pressing C-dash, so we are starting the C-dash a bit more ahead than we would normally be able to, and that saves a frame at most, but it looks cool. This way of doing pre-petro arena movement might actually be the fastest, even if you don't need to do the damage tank, because damage tanking above the little platform and then dashing is really fast. we go down instead of up here because it's faster with WCS. It's probably not faster without WCS, but it's a good thing I actually tried both options because I don't know, someone else may not even have given that option a chance, but it's actually faster and it's not even close. In my opinion, movement through this split looks probably the coolest or second coolest. Here I did it again, behind Crystal Peaks, because yeah, it's the one where we can exploit WCS the most again. Sadly, we don't have a way of escaping this cutscene, so we will have to go through it either way. And I'm going to quit out here just for the health refill because we will need it for the devout kill at the end of this room. We make sure to break that breakable floor so we can make this climb here legal. The reason is actually really stupid, but yeah, that's just NMG rules. It's just so we can lure some enemies up that would theoretically allow us to get up there without WCS, and it's just like 0.06 faster or something like that. We are approaching now the end of the run, and the the trip to THK is actually more interesting than you would think. You have to actually find the optimal places to damage tank, which are here and a bit closer to THK. And then the THK fight itself is very cool, so I will let you enjoy that when we get there. Here I wiggle for long enough so you can see the bell came up instantly instead of having to wait for it. Also the UHD didn't update, but we actually have 4 HP here. This is the other damage tank. And now we are just going to head into THK, kill him as fast as possible, which is actually more straightforward than you might imagine. And yeah, finish the run. I think I'll just let you enjoy the fight alone because it's actually really good. yeah, maybe a bit more disappointing than you might have originally imagined, but the thing is that we can skip every single screen by just knowing his FSM properly. And yeah, that's the fastest way of doing it without BS, but triples on THK are still faster by around 3 seconds or so. Yep, this is the final time, just barely getting the sub 25:30. I didn't really intend to go for it, but it just lined up this way, so yep, 25 minutes 29 seconds dot 66 is the final time. I hope you enjoyed. I will be uploading a version of, well, the original version of the TAS without any commentary to my channel shortly after. And yeah, I will repeat again, make sure to check the TAS Discord if you are interested in the testing world. And yeah, I think that's about it. I will leave you with the credits. So yeah, that was basically the task. I just wanted to mention a bit about the final time, that even though I saved 3 minutes and a half to CC's task, not even close to all of that is from the reroute. Probably about 2 minutes is from skipping Vengeful Spirit, and another 15 to 20 from getting Rough Tertial, and then the rest is just better optimization and more time dedicated into it. So yeah, just so you have a rough estimate of how much time it saves for tasks. For RTA, a route that skips BS would probably save a lot less, because you will need to take other things into consideration. Apart from obviously being a lot harder to do. So yeah, I think we can start unwrapping this up. Bye, and see you on the hopefully when I do the more extended version of commenting this task, just explaining everything more in detail. In case I do it, I may not have time to do it, but I fully intend in doing it. So yeah, goodbye.